I didn't make a sound. Okay, so today we are going to be doing a little book haul, book slash CD haul slash just general kind of not soft spoken, whispered ramble, because I tend to ramble on quite a lot about books and music. I'll be honest, and probably part of the reason why I said soft spoken is because I recorded this video over the weekend, but dude, the vibes were just so off because the whole time I was just nervous about like the volume of my soft speaking, and I think I just can't soft speak like I used to. I've like lost the ability, because I actually watched some of my older, like all my book buddies used to be soft spoken, and I watched some of them, and I was like, because I thought maybe my tastes have just changed a lot, but I was like, no, I like right now I just cannot soft speak the way I used to back then. So I don't know, maybe it's my vocals are changing, I don't know what it is, but like I tried soft speaking it the same way I used to, and it just doesn't, it sounds like a gravelly whisper to me. Maybe it's because I just have like some phlegm on my chest right now. But anyways, I have a wonderful little collection of things here to speak about. So let's just begin. I'm also wearing, it's very cold. It was raining quite a few times today. So I'm wearing my little puffy jacket, hopefully that like has some like ambient noises that you guys like. Any hoozles, let's begin with the compact discs. Discs. We have Medusa by Annie Lennox. Then we have, I will be like talking about these in depth, don't worry. We have Older by George Michael. And finally we have Violator by Depeche Mode. So I got the three of these a couple of weekends ago. I went on a little drive to Hout Bay, which is, well, a bay kind of area. Over here, there's like a nice beach as well. I did take some footage, film some footage of me on the beach, which I will overlay here with the power of video editing magic. I think I was wearing my zebra loafers show, so that should be fun. Yeah, so I went on a trip, mostly because I just wanted to go on like a driving adventure. Because I only got my car, like in April, so like there were a few weekends where like every weekend I was like going to like do a driving thing, like driving somewhere out of like my usual zone. I'm over it now. Now I don't like do anything really. But yeah, this was one of those weekends where I wanted to go like do like a scenic drive, and the drive to Hout Bay is like you go around the mountain and look at the ocean, and it's quite a nice scenic drive. I'll be honest, I was on the drive, I did not enjoy it that much, just because there's only one lane, and well, you know, as it is with these like mountain kind of twirly-whirly roads, people tend to want to drive fast, and I was very much like trying to, being the like new driver that I am, I'm trying to like stay under the speed limit, even though like there were no cameras there. But I just like nothing happened, but like I was just very anxious about the people behind me. But yeah, I'm sure I'll get over that eventually with driving experience. Anyways, there's a nice market in Hout Bay, which is the point of the story, where yeah, they have lots of like crafts and things. Again, I wasn't really there for the market. It was just a nice thing to do after the drive. And I walked on the beach after that as well. But you know, I cannot resist secondhand CDs because they are very cheap, and I just like having CDs. I like having like physical representations of like my favorite artists, and one of those being Depeche Mode, the boys. Depeche Mode. This is Violator, released in 1990, I believe. And yeah, this has some of their Personal Jesus, one of their most famous songs. And yeah, I just like the vibe. It's kind of a little more like rocky than their previous albums from the 80s, but still like has their kind of dark, kind of alternative cool guy like edge, which I enjoy. Oh, also probably another one of their more famous songs is Enjoy the Silence. Yeah, my favorite is definitely Policy of Truth. Policy of Truth. I enjoy Halo as well, and World in My Eyes, the opening track. But yeah, I enjoy the whole album, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's my favorite. I think there are a few, like The Run, I think, like Construction Time Again, and Some Great Reward, or like those two, like were released back to back. Oh, I love them. So I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there. I love the album. I like that it's like a nice little departure from their like 80s stuff, and yeah, they kind of just go further with that on Songs of Faith and Devotion. But I digress. This was 40 Rand, which is very cheap. It's like $2, maybe less than $2. You can look up the conversion if you are very curious, but basically it's very cheap. And also I've been trying not to buy so many CDs, and you have a look at the CD. Very simple, but fitting of the album. But now that I have a car and it has a CD player in it, I've like justified it to myself. I'm like, oh no, like I'm not just buying it for decoration now. Like I can actually play them in my car. So yes, that is Violator by Depeche Mode. Next up we have Older by one of my absolute favorites, George Michael. This is his third album, released in 96. I want to say, I'm trying to find it on the back here. It is in very small text. 96, yes, 96. So yes, his third album. I now own 3 of his 4 major solo albums. I think he did release one like cover album in the 2000s, which I'm not really counting. But yeah, I love Older. I love George Michael's whole discography, including his Wham stuff, just because I think the like character arc is so cool. He goes from this like teeny bopper kind of party guy in Wham to like this big like sex symbol basically in Faith, and then he gets more like personal and introspective about like his relationship with like fame and stuff on Listen Without Prejudice, and like various other more like tender things to do with like relationships. And then Older is of course about kind of getting older, and I think one of the things I love about George Michael, well, he has a very small solo discography, right? It's only 4 albums. It's Faith, Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1, Older, and then Patience. Faith was 87. Weird sounds from my neighbors. Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1, and I will always say the whole title, was released in 1990. This was 1996, and then Patience was 2004. So very widely spread out, which is sort of the antithesis of like a David Bowie, who again is one of my other big favorites, who really like from like 69 to like 80, he was releasing an album like almost one a year or one every 2 years. And again, I love both their discographies, but for different reasons. Like with George, every album is so sonically different because there's so much time in between them, and also like his writing is very different because obviously he is at like different stages of his life, and all of them, and again that like adds to the like big overall character arc of George Michael in his music, which I love very much. He's one of my favorites of all time. My favorite, and as you can see here, the big singles from this album: Jesus to a Child, Fast Love, Star People, I think as well. Oh, it's not on the front, but I think it was a single. My favorite is probably Star People, and then probably number 2 is Older. You know, Star People being the more like upbeat, fun song, kind of satirizing a little bit, making fun of like these people that are in love with fame and so over it and that kind of stuff. And then Older is about, you know, becoming older and that kind of stuff. Way more chilled, but still very cool. So yes, this is Listen Without Prejudice. Not Listen. This is this is Older by George Michael. The CD is currently in my car, in the CD player, so it's not here. And then, oh my word, cute! I didn't notice it before. He says here, "Thank you for waiting," because it's been 6 years since he released an album. Cute, man. Anyways, George Michael. I now have 3. As I said this like at the beginning, I have 3 of it. I'm just missing Patience, his final one, and then I'll have my entire George Michael collection. I will mention my goal, and I told myself while I was like looking through like the shelves of CDs, I was like, I'm not gonna buy a CD unless it is a Kate Bush CD, unless I can get a Kate Bush CD as part of it. This next one is Annie Lennox, so I did not get a Kate Bush CD. I think I've told this story before, but as I said, I want to have physical representations of all my favorite artists. And when it comes to like my favorite solo artists, David Bowie, like the main 3, I would say, like my big, like very influential on me, would be probably David Bowie, George Michael, and Kate Bush, right? I have, as I said, I have 3 out of 4 of George's solo albums. I definitely do not have 75% of David Bowie's albums. I have like 4 or 5 David Bowie CDs, so I'm covered there. But I have no Kate Bush, and it's like my white. And you would think, because Kate Bush was a very popular artist, you know. So it's weird that I haven't found any of her stuff, and I won't accept the greatest hits like compilation. I want like an actual studio album. I used to only want like one of my more favorite ones, but at this point I'll take anyone. Dude, and the reason why I'm so frustrated is because when I was in university, I saw, and in university I only started getting into Kate Bush in I think like 2017. I saw Hounds of Love on sale at Musica, which was a music shop, which is now unfortunately not in existence anymore, because people don't really buy, at least not at such a great scale. I know people buy like vinyl, but yeah, anyways, I went to the Musica and I saw Hounds of Love, but it was like a ultimate like deluxe edition for like 300 and something, 350 rand, and I was like, oh, that's a little, because usually the like normal price was like 100 rand for a CD, like new, like from like the store. This wasn't a second-hand store, this was like a new like music store. And I was like, oh, that's expensive, I'll just wait. I'm sure I'll find another Kate Bush CD that is like cheaper down the line. I never did. I ended up, that day I left with Clouds by Joni Mitchell, which was like 100 rand, and I really love that album, and I love Joni Mitchell, but now I feel like that decision has just been haunting me ever since, because now every time I see a collection of like second-hand CDs, I'm looking through for a Kate Bush, right? There is a second-hand shop for CDs that is like, I go to it's like around here, like I can walk there, and I go there I used to go there like every couple of weeks, and dude, they are like shelves, like a whole wall of shelves, and like even more, just like in the room of CDs, and I look through every one of them, cannot find a fucking Kate Bush. I think I found a compilation, but again, that's next. Absolutely not, never. So yeah, I didn't find Kate Bush this day either, but I don't know. I told myself I wouldn't leave without a Kate Bush, or I wouldn't buy any CDs without a Kate Bush, but I convinced myself against it because I was like, oh, I can play these in the car. Anyway, that's the end of my little Kate Bush rant. The search continues, friends. Next up, we have another icon of the 80s, Annie Lennox. Annie Lennox, known for her tenure in Eurythmics. Eurythmics. This is Medusa. This is mostly, actually, all covers, which and released in 1995, so close to the George Michael. 1 year before the George Michael, not exactly. This was 30 rand, also very cheap. The most famous song on here, I would say, is No More I Love Yous, which, if you are unfamiliar, it's the one that goes dabba dabba dub dub dub. Ah. Dabba dabba dub dub dub. Ah. Nicki Minaj sampled it in some song of hers in like the 2010s that I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, this is an album of covers. I used to really not be into like cover songs when I was a teenager, but I think it's just because all the covers that I heard were like kind of shitty, like YouTube covers, and not like when actual like effort was put into like making it sound different and like the voice and whatever. So like this and so like Brian Ferry's first 2 solo albums, really I was like, oh shit, this is really cool. Like these people reinterpreting the original songs in an interesting way. So I flipped on that over the years. There still are some covers that I like. There are covers on this album that I don't really like, but my favorite is absolutely Don't Let It Bring You Down. Track 4, always the best track except for when it's not. Dude, that is such a classic. Like me, but I'm glad it's finally on my ASMR channel. 4 is my favorite number, so whenever track 4 is like one of my favorites on an album, I'm like, oh, it's meant to be. Track 4 is always the best. But there are obviously lots of examples when it's not the best, and I only notice it when it is. So, anyways. Yeah, my favorite is probably Don't Let It Bring You Down. I fell in love with that song because Spanky, Kevin Spanky Long, who is a skateboarder, a professional skateboarder for Baker Skateboards, he released a part, I think last year, called The Horses, which was so cool. I love his style so much, his skateboarding style, and actually his like clothing style. He just seems so cool. And in that video, he used this Annie Lennox cover of Don't Let It Bring You Down. I believe it's originally by Neil Young. But yeah, I thought it was so cool. He's like skateboarding in the video was so cool. And yeah, it introduced me to the song. I knew about this album just because I had like looked into No I Love Yous before. But yeah, and then shortly after I watched that video, I went on a hike by myself. And I remember like once I got to the top, I remember listening to Don't Let It Bring You Down. And like that moment is so like etched in my mind. And then I remember even like after that, after the hike, like when I came back home and I was kind of decompressing, I listened to the song. So like it's so linked, and that was just such a nice day for me, like that hike. So yes, that's my favorite, definitely. Second favorite is probably No More I Love Yous, and third is Take Me to the River, which is like a cool, like kind of funky, like this, the bass line is like this funky, like synth bass. I'm not gonna but yeah, I think at first I didn't really like that much, but over time I'm like, damn, Take Me to the River is really good. I think that, what is that? Al Green. Can't remember. The one that I don't really like that much is Train in Vain. It is a cover of a Clash or The Clash song from London Calling. I really like that album. I really like that song. It's the final track on London Calling. And I don't know, this version, it doesn't. Maybe it's because I like the original so much. But yeah, and his version, yeah, I do not like that much, but the rest of the album I'm pretty cool with. Dude, the original artist for No My I Love Yous is this like, I think British little like outfit called The Lover Speaks, and the original is actually very very cool. It's a male vocalist as opposed to any, and but it's not on streaming, it's not on like Spotify or anything, but you can check it out on YouTube if you're interested. It's very cool. And yeah, I have some hot chocolate here that is probably cold after all my long talking. It's still kind of warm actually. Dudes, I just chugged that whole mug of hot chocolate. It was actually at the perfect temperature. Also, I've been speaking for 20 minutes. I hope you are enjoying this. Finally, let's move on to the book. We have Nausea. I forgot there for a second. Nausea by Jean-Paul Sartre. Jean-Paul Sartre. My brother JPS. This is my second Sartre book that I own. The other one is also a like narrative novel, Iron in the Soul. I bought this in 2019. But this is like the third book in a series, and I just recognized his name just from my like readings about philosophy and particularly existentialism. And he's like one of the major figures in specifically like French existentialism. And I was like, oh, Sartre, I know that name. He's like the philosopher guy. I'll pick up this book. Dude, this book, first of all, as I said, it's the third in a series, and it takes place during World War II, and it like jumps around from a few different perspectives, and it's so dense. Again, it's like the third in a series that I know nothing about. It has like 3 or 4 different like stories that it jumps to between chapters, and each of them has so many different characters, and I got like halfway through it. One day I'll get into it again, but it's like just very like mentally taxing. So I haven't finished it. But his writing is still like interesting, cool enough that I certainly wanted to read more. I wanted to read more specifically of his like philosophical writings, not just his like narrative novels. And last month I was at a bookstore, and I said, you know what? And I saw one of his like philosophy books, and these are generally quite expensive. I don't know why philosophy books are so expensive. They're always like over 300 rand, which is not like terrible, but like for a book it's kind of a lot, particularly when these others are like, less than half, like less than 150 normally for like a novel like this. But anyways, and I said, you know what, next month I'm gonna add it to my budget. Next month I'm going to buy a Sartre like philosophical book, because I just really want to like get into his stuff, as I have with like Camus over here. So then I went the next month after I got paid, I was like, okay, let's go check this off my budget. Let's get me a Sartre, a JPS philosophical book. And then the book that I saw was not there anymore, but I found this. So I looked in the philosophy section, and the book that I was going to buy was not. I can't remember what it was. I can't even remember what it was. It wasn't there. So then I thought, okay, whatever, at least. So I always go to the philosophy section first and then the classic section, and that's pretty much it. So then I went to the classic section after having failed, and I saw this, but I was a little unsure because I really wanted to read, I didn't want to read like a narrative novel. I wanted to read straight up philosophy. But I saw this and I was very intrigued by the cover. This is a piece of Salvador Dali artwork. The title is in Spanish, so I'm not going to try to say it because I will butcher it. So then I took note of this and I thought, okay, cool, that seems interesting. And then I went back to the philosophy section just to browse. And I saw there was a contemporary book on existentialism. And I just read the blurb. With these kind of things, I like to read the primary sources first. I don't like reading contemporary people or anyone like just summarizing the idea. I want to read like the original, like I want to read Sartre's like original works on existentialism. I don't want to read someone else like summarizing it and like with their own view and whatever, because I feel like this kind of stuff is very like personal, and I feel like what you take out of it, this philosophy, I mean these philosophical writings, is very like unique. Like I want to hear it from the primary source so I can like form my own ideas. I want to hear someone else talking about it. So I didn't have any interest in buying that book, but I read the blurb just for fun. And the author said that, you know, they were into existentialism ever since they read Nausea by Sartre. And I thought, you know what, that's a sign. I'm just gonna get the Sartre, the Nausea by Sartre. Can't speak. And I bought it, and it's very cool. It is a lot more like chilled out and easier to read than Eye in the Soul. It kind of has a similar vibe to The Outsider by Camus, but in that it is about just a single character from their like first person perspective and their struggles with kind of life and like their encounters with existentialism like through that. But this is a little more relatable because I feel like Marceau from The Outsider is a little, I don't know, kind of on the edge, a little cold. Whereas I feel like he's an extraordinary character, is what I'm trying to say. At least in my like viewing of it. Whereas Antoine Rocaton, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, who is the protagonist here, and I'll read the blurb after this. He's a way more of like just an everyman kind of guy. So I'm like 10 pages in, but I'm really enjoying it so far, and I will now read the little blurb over here. Nausea is both the story of the troubled life of a young writer, Antoine Rocaton, and an exposition of one of the most influential and significant philosophical attitudes of modern time, existentialism. The book chronicles his struggle with the realization that he is an entirely free agent in a world devoid of meaning, a world in which he must find his own purpose and then take total responsibility for his choices. A seminal work of literary philosophy, Nausea evokes and examines the dizzying angst that can come from simply trying. I'm gonna read that last part again. A seminal work of a literary philosophy, Nausea evokes and examines the dizzying angst that can come from simply trying to love. Amen to that. So yes, I've been loving this so far. It is part of our favorite series, the Penguins Classics, just like... It's not here, but just like, I think in my last like book haul video, I spoke about Breakfast at Tiffany's, so it's from the same series as that. I love this, the Penguin Classics series, Penguin Modern Classics, series. Their covers are always tasteful. This is so fucking cool. I love this Dali artwork, and yeah, this font is nice as well. It's like unique enough to kind of catch your eye, but not so much that it takes away from the like artwork, you know. Strikes a nice balance. But yes, yeah, I've been loving this so far. Nausea. Friends, I think that it's going to be. Oh, I will say, I finally finished everything in my little DOS collection in The Gambler and Other Stories. I finished The Gambler, so I finished all the other stories, like over the years. And I think I've mentioned this before, like with collections like this, I like reading one short story and then taking a break and then like coming back. Like I don't want to rush it, you know, I want to savor the experience as long as I possibly can, particularly with like Dostoevsky. I love his style. I love like the worlds that he puts, that he like depicts. I love his like writing style. I just think he's so like he really like clicks with me, you know. And so I wanted to kind of savor that and like take breaks and then like finish a story and then like take break and then like come back way later. So I left the largest section, the Gambler, which is like more of a novella, for last. I finished that at this point a couple of weeks ago, and dude, so cool. It's so funny at times too. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, it's so cool about just like there are so many good lines about like the human nature and like addiction and stuff. It's just I just loved it so much. As you can see, I've ticked off everything here. Bobok, I am like 97% sure I did finish it. I just didn't tick it off probably. But yes, I finally finished this little collection, and it looks the part as well, with all the scabs and things from coming in and out of my bags. So yes, and then I'll give you a little update music-wise of what I've been listening to recently. Grace Jones has been heavy in rotation, particularly Night Clubbing, her album. Again, a lot of covers similar to Annie Lennox. But yeah, I'm loving it. The one thing that I will say on Spotify, the album cover is different from the original album cover. So here's the Spotify album cover. I'll use the magic of editing to have it there. It's just like this text, which, like, if that just was the cover, it's not offensive. Like, I don't hate it. It's just kind of whatever. But dude, the original album cover is this, like, such an iconic image of Grace Jones, and Grace Jones is so fucking cool. She looks so cool. So I don't know why they went for like this when you could have had, again, like the cover that is there now is not like terrible, but dude, when you have the option to have like this incredible like Grace Jones image, like why not use that? And they did the same thing for Slave to the Rhythm, which, and again I'll like have the pictures here, which is like an even more iconic, incredible Grace Jones pictures. I don't know why they did that, but I've been really enjoying Night Clubbing. My favorite tracks are probably Demolition Man, which is actually written by Sting of the Police, and then the Police actually released their own version on Ghost in the Machine, I think. I did not like I listened to the Police version. I prefer the Grace Jones version. I think it's just because I like Grace Jones more than Sting as a vocalist, just like to me personally. And yeah, my other favorite track is probably the first track, which is Walking in the Rain. As I said at the beginning, it's been like, it's like fully winter now. It's raining quite a lot, so there are many like drives that I go on where I'll play Walking in the Rain. I feel like oh man, that's cool. You never do that, like when you are doing something and you put on a song that makes you feel like it's like describing, not really just while I'm driving in the rain and walking in the rain, but you know what I mean, like I feel like I'm in a movie. So I've been playing it a lot recently. And then also like I like going back to the Smiths a little bit as well, just because I've kind of been in that mood, but particularly their first album, the self-titled. But yeah, I mean, I'm listening to some other stuff, but that's just what I can remember right now. If I were to do like a full what I'm listening to like monthly thing, that would be like its own like fucking 40-minute video, so I'm not gonna go into everything right now. But yes, thank you for spending. I hope you enjoyed. This is probably a long one. Thank you so much